Oh dear me. The knights of the square table were in a panic. The Queen's favourite mirror had been knocked off the wall and smashed. It wasn't really Sir Kipalot's fault, but it was him who'd been dozily going down the corridor and bumped into it and knocked it off. It was smashed into 1,000 pieces. What were they going to do? Sir Swaggeralot said, "Well, what on earth can we do? We'll have to clear the pieces away. This is going to be big trouble because, the Queen had this brought all the way from the Middle East, which is in between the Far East and the Near East, and it was brought on a camel all the way, and it took a year to get here. It's her favourite mirror. It's her only mirror." "I didn't know camels could swim," said Sir Burpalot. "Well, of course they can," said Sir Swaggeralot. "That's why they're called the ships of the desert. Anyway, brush up the pieces and hide them. This is going to be big trouble." Anyway, every morning the Queen came from her bedroom, walked along the big corridor to get to the great hall, and in the corridor was the mirror. She always paused there to admire herself before she went to see her courtiers. Well, they didn't know what to do. Suddenly the Queen appeared. "Oh my goodness, here she comes," they said. "What are we going to do?" "I've got an idea," said Sir Burpalot. Oh, excuse me. He grabbed the mirror frame and held it up to his face and stood by the wall. As the Queen walked by, she glanced in the mirror. And then she took a second look. "Oh," she said, I don't seem to look quite so well this morning. Oh, let me have a look." She lifted her eyelids to look in her eyes. Sir Burpalot, the other side the frame, lifted his eyelids. She opened her mouth and put out her tongue to look at her tongue. Sir Burpalot did the same, and then suddenly the Queen looked even closer and screamed, "Ah!" running off down the corridor in a terrible panic, waving her arms, running back to her bedroom and jumping into bed. Well, her maid was very upset. "What be the matter with you, my lady?" she said. "It's horrible to see you so vexed." "Oh, it's terrible, terrible," said the Queen. "I've just looked in the mirror, and during the night I seem to have sprouted a huge, bushy, black moustache. I can't possibly go out today with that." She put the covers over her head and refused to come out. Out in the corridor, the knights were gathered round. "Well," said Sir Burpalot, "do you think we got away with it?" "I don't think so," said Sir Forget-a-lot. "I know what I'll do. I'll go to the portrait gallery. I'll get a portrait from the Queen's gallery, and then I'll fit it in the mirror. And then tomorrow when she comes along and she looks in the mirror, there you go." "What a good idea," said Sir Swaggeralot. "In the meantime, I shall try and stick the pieces of mirror together." "But what are you going to use?" said Sir Burpalot. "How can you stick it together?" I think I'll use cow dung," said Sir Swaggeralot. "Cow dung?" said Sir Kipalot. "Oh, the very thought of it makes me tired." "Yes, cow dung," said Sir Swaggeralot. "The peasants use it to plaster their houses, so it must be sticky." "Yes," said Sir Kipalot. "Have you ever tried to get it off your clothes? It is really sticky." So that was the plan. Sir Forget-a-lot went to the gallery and looked round for a portrait to put in the frame. Oh, that's rather nice. Oh, no, that one. Oh, perhaps this. Oh, this is lovely, this one here. Oh, I'll take this one. Well, the following morning, the Queen, having been reassured by her maid that she didn't have a big moustache, got dressed and came along the corridor to the mirror. As she passed, she was a little bit reticent looking into it. But when she looked, she thought, what the? And she ran off down the corridor in a panic again back to the bedroom. My dear ma'am," said the maid, "what on earth has upset thee this morning?" Oh, dear me," she said. I've just looked in my mirror and I seem to have grown an enormous nose and big long floppy ears. I can't possibly go out like this. She pulled the bedclothes over her head and refused to come out. Oh, for goodness sake, said Sir Swagger-a-Lot. Sir Forget-a-Lot, the portrait you chose was a portrait of the Queen's dog. Oh, said Sir Forget-a-Lot, I was looking for a nice portrait and it just looked so lovely. Never mind, by tomorrow, said Sir Swagger-a-Lot, I will have stuck all the pieces of the mirror together. The cow dung is going really well. By the following morning, all the bits were stuck together and pressed into the frame. We look a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, said the knights, but we'll try it. They hung up the mirror and they drew the curtains so that it was a little bit darker in the passageway. The Queen came out of her bedroom, having been reassured by the maid that she hadn't got a big nose and long ears, and came along the corridor. She was a little bit afraid to look at the mirror, but then she said, Oh, what's that awful smell? Oh, it's an awful... And the nearer the mirror I get, the more it smells. It's disgusting. Let me have a look. Ah! I seem to have gone all wrinkly like an elephant during the night. Ah! And she ran off down the corridor, back to her bedroom. Well, it was a disaster. They didn't know what to do. This is going to be big trouble now, said Sir Swagger-a-Lot. We're in big trouble. Well, that evening, Harold the Herald summoned the knights to the square table. Oh no, said Sir Kip-a-Lot, we're in trouble now. Oh, I'm sure we are. They all arrived at the table, and the Queen sat on her throne. Now, she said, I have an announcement to make about my mirror. You know my special mirror that came all the way from the Middle East, that's in between the Far East and the Near East? Yes, said the knights. What's your announcement, ma'am? I want you to take it off the wall, take it down to the dungeon, lock it up, and I never ever want to see it again. I've ordered a new one and it should be here in about a year. Well, the knights were so relieved. We got away with it, they said. We got away with it. Come on. They went down the corridor, collected the mirror, and went down towards the dungeon. And just as they turned the corner, Sir Kip-a-Lot's sword stuck out and knocked the Queen's favourite vase on the floor. Psst! Oh no, said Sir Swagger-a-Lot. Here we go again.